So this is Professor Parker again with all this math, and this problem might look familiar if you saw the video that I did where I solved this equation. At the beginning of that previous video, I said I was going to do this problem in 2 ways, and I lied. Well, I ain't really lied, I forgot. I did it one way, but I forgot to do it the second way. The video was getting long. It got to be like 15 minutes. But anyway, I want to show you how to do this problem another way, because in the previous video, I did it by clearing out the fraction. So I got rid of this fraction, I got rid of this fraction, and I created an equation, right? I found the LCD of all three of these terms, and I multiplied every term in the equation by the LCD, or the least common denominator, in order to get rid of the fractions. But I want to do it another way where I don't do that. So check me out. So I got 8/9 is equal to 30 plus a over 45. Now, a over 45 is where the variable is. So basically, we want to isolate a by itself. Now, let's say I didn't want to get rid of the fractions first, all right? So I'm going to apply a different method, right? Where I'm following like a standard approach, right? I'm just trying to isolate a on the right side of the equation, right? Now, first I got to ask myself, well, what is on the right side of the equation along with a that I need to get rid of? What do I got to get rid of? I got to get rid of this 30, and I got to get rid of this a over this 45, this number 45. So then a will be by itself. So what I could do is I can get rid of 30 first. Now this 30 is a positive 30. So the opposite of a positive 30 is a negative 30. But what do I do to, I guess, actualize or like how do I show a negative 30? Like, what do? I subtract 30, right? I subtract 30 to show negative 30. So I'm going to do minus 30 right here on the right side. And I'm going to also do minus 30 over here on the left side. Now I got 8/9 minus 30. 8/9 minus 30. So I got a fraction and I got an integer, right? So I got 8/9. I'm going to rewrite it horizontally. 8/9 minus 30 is equal to a over 45. Now, 8/9 minus 30. Now I need to find an LCD between 9 and 1, because the denominator under 30 is going to be 1, right? So the LCD between 9 and 1 is 9, because 9 is the smallest number that 9 and 1 can both multiply into, all right? So I'm going to rewrite this as, this is still going to be 8/9, but I need another numerator for this, because this 1 turns into a 9. See, this 1 turns into a 9. This 1 turns into a 9 by multiplying it by 9. So if I multiplied 1 by 9, I got to also multiply the 30 by 9. So 1 times 9 is 9, and 30 times 9 is just 3 times 9 with a 0 attached to it. 3 times 9 is 27. 27 with a 0 attached to it is 270. So I put 270 right here, right? So 30 is the same thing as 270 over 9. And why did I multiply 1 times 9 to get 9? Because 9 is the LCD between 9 and 1. See, 9 and 9, right? Now I can do my subtraction. I do 8, my fault, not 80. I do 8 minus 270, and that is negative 262 over 9 is equal to a over 45. Now we have what we call a proportion, right? Negative 262 over 9 is equal to a over 45. Now, it's a couple ways I could do this from here, right? I could cross multiply, going diagonal, multiplying the diagonal terms. And that's a way to get rid of the fractions that way, these two fractions. Or I could just get rid of what I don't want in order to isolate a by itself, which is to get rid of the 45, right? So let's do it both ways since we got time, right? Let me get rid of the 45. So the way to get rid of the 45 is to do the opposite of divide by 45, because that 45 is being divided. See, when we solving equations, what you got to memorize is this. The way you get rid of stuff is by doing the opposite operation. Just memorize that fact. And then ask yourself, what is that thing that I'm trying to get rid of doing in that equation? And what's the opposite of that thing? So if I say I'm trying to get rid of 45, all right, what's 45 doing? Okay, 45 is being divided by a. This says a divided by 45, right? So what's the opposite of dividing? Multiplying. So that's what you got to do. Always ask yourself, what's the opposite? What is it doing? And what's the opposite? And how do I do the opposite, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this side by 45. And I'm also, because this is an equation and we got to maintain balance in an equation, if I multiply by 45 on the right side, I also have to multiply by 45 on the left side. So this 45 and this 45 cancel out. They turn into ones. That leaves me with A, right? Over here, this is 45 times negative 262 over 9. If I had my calculator, I might do 45 times negative 262, get that huge number, and then, divide by 9. But what I'm going to do instead is this. I'm going to cross cancel the 45 with the 9. The 45 with the 9. Cross cancel. You don't multiply 45 by both of these numbers. That's a common mistake. A lot of people do that wrong. They do 45 times negative 262, and they're going to do 45 times 9 to get a new fraction. That's wrong. You only multiply this 45 by the numerator if you was going to do straight multiplication. Now, what I'm about to do is called cross-canceling. Cross-canceling. I got some videos on the channel about cross-canceling. So look for those videos on the channel, cross-canceling videos, right? Cross-canceling is basically when you divide, right? It's like reducing a fraction, right? So I say, okay, 45 and 9, do they have a common factor? And they do. 45 and 9 have several common factors, but what I mean is really, what's the greatest common factor? What's the GCF of 45 and 9? So the GCF of 45 and 9 is 9. So I do 9 divided by 9, that becomes 1. I do 45 divided by 9, that becomes 5. So now I just do 5. Now I'm going to do 5 times negative 262 to get the answer, right? So 5 times negative 2, I'm going to break this down into 260 and 2. 260 and 2. Because that makes the multiplication easier. Because I'm doing it from the dome. I'm not going to go grab my calculator. It's in the other room anyway. I don't feel like going to get it. And I don't need to get it because I can do mental math, right? 5 times 200 is 1,000. Because I know 5 times 2 is 10. And I just attach 2 zeros. Because 1,000 has 3 zeros and 10 only has 1 zero. So 5 times 200 is 1,000, right? So, and then 5 times 60 is 300. So that's 300. So that's 1,000 and 300. And then 5 times 2 is 10. So we got 1,000, 300, and 10. 1,000 plus 300 plus 10 is 1,310. And it's negative 1,310 because I'm multiplying a positive number by a negative number. So this is negative 1,310. And I'm pretty sure that's the answer we got before, right? So negative 1,310 is equal to A. Now, let's do it another way. Remember we got to this point, got to this proportion, and I decided to multiply by 45 on both sides instead of cross-multiplying, because you can also cross-multiply. So let me show you what that looked like. So let me just copy it up here. Negative 262 over 9 is equal to A over 45. Now, if we cross-multiply, we're going like this. We're going diagonal with it. So 9 times A is 9A. Bring the equal sign down, and then go cross-multiply this way. Negative 262 times 45. Let me see something. Negative 262 times 45. I said I ain't feel like going to get my calculator. I need to go grab that. I'll be right back. I'm back. Yeah, unfortunately, I have not learned yet. I might still learn. I got time. I have not learned yet how to do 262 times 45 in my head easily. I mean, I could do it, but the amount of intellectual labor that it would take to do that, I'm not trying to do right now. All right, especially when I can just work smarter and not harder, use my trusty TI-30 calculator. So I'm going to just do 262 times 45. 262 times 45. That's going to be a negative 11,790. Bring the 9A down, and it's negative because we did a negative times a positive. Whenever you multiply a negative by a positive, your product is always negative. Always negative. Always negative. All right, now I'm trying to get A by itself, right? Fractions are gone, right? So now I'm going to divide by 9 and divide by 9. Boom, boom. 9 divided by 9 is 1. That gives me 1A or A. So negative 11,790 divided by 9 is also negative 1,310. So either way you slice it, you still get negative 1,310 is equal to A. Boom, boom. We got it both ways. And this is another way to check your work, right? if you use multiple methods and you get the same answer, this is a substantial way to check your work. All right? Now go get some practice, and I'll check you on the next video. Peace.